We got the battle of the undefeateds as the Philadelphia Eagles fly to Tampa to take on Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers. My name's Tyler, here with my brother Ryan, and we're going to break down this week 4 matchup and provide our predictions at the very end. So be sure to leave a comment. Let us know who you think is going to win and why. And also hit that subscribe button, get notified when new videos come out. And Ryan, Philadelphia Eagles had a dramatic victory over the Los Angeles Rams, coming back from a pretty steep deficit, 26-7 at its worst point. Tampa Bay Buccaneers nearly blew the game after they were up a bunch of points and then had a blocked field goal return for a touchdown, only for Baker Mayfield to do what Baker Mayfield does and go on another game-winning drive and kick a last-second field goal to win over the New York Jets. I think that's what's really interesting, too, about both of these teams here. Both are undefeated, but it's both teams don't like. They still feel like there's a lot of room for improvement for both of these
Yeah.
teams. I was watching this Rams Eagles game and they got down big, and I was like, when's this passing game finally going to show up that we've talked about? And even kind of what we talked about in our preview for this Rams Eagles game about like, well, I want to see this passing game come up. Like, we need guys they need guys to finally start showing up, and they finally did in the second half. 6 catches for 109 yards and a touchdown for AJ Brown. Devontae Smith, 8 catches, 60 yards and a touchdown. Dallas Goedert, 1 catch for 33 yards and a touchdown. It was just, would like to see more catches, but still, hey, the 1 catch, if you score a touchdown every time, that's pretty good. And so I I think that might be a good sign for things to come here as well. They did sort of have some offensive line issues once when Lane Johnson went down as well too. I think maybe that's a couple of things they're still trying to work out. Is going to be just the overall running game, as the Eagles only ran for 86 rushing yards total, and Jalen Hurts had 40 of those. So not really the running
Yeah.
game that you want to have, especially with Saquon Barkley in the backfield. On the flip side, though, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they've been battling with some injuries, and they had another major injury as well too, as Mike Evans hurt his hamstring again, and so we'll have to monitor his status. But most likely with hamstring injuries, that is a couple week absence at minimum. And so
Yeah.
Mike Evans being older and this being a pretty consistent thing as a whole. So going to have to monitor the Buccaneers' overall status as well too. They're still down Chris Godwin. Emeka Egbuka was on a pitch count as well, even though he still had a really good game, 6 catches for 85 yards also. So are the Buccaneers going to be at full strength offensively and even dealing with some of the offensive line? Just a lot of questions going in that we'll need to monitor throughout the week. But Ryan, I want to throw it over to you here. What do you think of the Eagles so far, a couple games in the season, and the same thing with Tampa Bay Buccaneers as well?
Yeah. I think this is gonna sound, I don't know, this might sound stupid, but this was the test that this Eagles team needed to prove that they were still a championship team. Because so far this year, the first couple weeks, they had just kind of bullied their way through the first 2 games against Dallas and Kansas City. They were just more physical. They got out with a barely a 1-score win. And it didn't pat it got the check mark in the win column, but it didn't pass the eye test per se, as like this is a true Super Bowl contending team. And this week they got hit in the mouth over and over again, and they came back out and took the Rams' best shot and gave it back and then some, and had a great comeback win here. And I think for the development and the progression of this team as we watch them throughout the rest of the season, I think this was a turning point for the better for this team, where they got a little bit of their swagger back, especially in the passing game for this team. And they did, obviously the Lane Johnson injury is big for this offensive line, and how will that impact the running game? But they proved to themselves today that no matter what happens, that this passing attack is going to be able to bring them back and keep them competitive in any game whatsoever. So I think that was really big. Tampa Bay, I didn't think they looked that great against Houston. I didn't think Houston looked that great though either in that matchup. That was very much a rock fight. And I thought they looked better today. This Jets team is not very good. I am a little concerned about the injuries that they're starting to add up. Tristan Wirfs was out today with a knee injury. You have Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Emeka Egbuka, like you said, was on a pitch count. So this running game is still doing fairly well with Bucky Irving and Rashad White, but again, those injuries are starting to add up. Without those guys on the outside, teams are going to be able to load the box against them. Especially this Philly team has one of the best defensive lines in the league, so that's going to be very interesting to see if they put an extra guy down in the box and trust this young secondary with some of these matchups. So I'm interested to see what the Buccaneers do in this matchup,
Yeah.
especially against a Philadelphia team whose confidence is going to be at a season high coming into their building after that win last week.
Well, and to add on to this as well, and to add on to this because it's going to come to my point then as well too for why I think the Eagles are going to win this game. But Cody Mock, their interior guard
Yeah.
from North Dakota State, he's out for the season as well too. And they just put Luke Gedeke, the right tackle, on IR as well too. So really piecing together like this offensive line, borderline now I think entirely second string
Yeah.
offensive line
I
here.
think
Clyde
center and
Chansey,
left guard are the
yeah.
same.
And so Kaji Cansey is also a guy. He's out for season-ending injury. I believe he tore his pec as well too. Correct me if I'm wrong. But
Yes.
reason why then I add on to this as well, add on to the injuries is if there was going to be an area where I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could exploit them, it's maybe a little bit. I think in the secondary as well as we saw. I know the Rams only threw for 196 yards. However, 112 of those yards went to Puka Nacua. He had 11 catches for 112 yards. I think that was an area where if they can have a full receiver set, like I don't, Philadelphia Eagles, I think might be susceptible to a heavy passing attack. And then on the flip side too, as well, if they're going to want to run the ball effectively with Bucky Irving, going to be going up against a tough front seven in Philadelphia. Now they did give up 160 yards today to the Los Angeles Rams, but in general, though, I still really like Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, defensive front, and then everybody else in that front seven is extremely good. But like honing in on those injuries from the Buccaneers as well too. Uh, Now you're going in with a really weak offensive line, and it also do if we're being honest, Buccaneers they are 3-0, very easily could be 0-3. Now like
Yeah.
they should have won this game as well too, but it took last second heroics against the Falcons in week one, last second heroics against the Houston Texans in week two, in a game that they didn't really look particularly great in as well. They should have dominated this game, and they did, but they just giving up 21 points in the fourth quarter. And to be frank, too, more often than not, the field goal to go up, that was at 26-20. More often than not, that field goal goes in and it's 29-20. It being blocked and then being returned for a touchdown is the absolute worst case scenario that happens 0.1% of the time. So
Yeah.
it is pretty fluky, but still it happened and they were still able to come out victorious. But the Buccaneers, I know they're undefeated. This is going to be at home. There are avenues for success, but I I think the X factor is going to be Baker Mayfield. I mean, he's a guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he just does those Superman things. But is there enough around him to carry them to another kind of crazy victory against Super Bowl champs? And that's where I just don't know if that is going to be the case. I'm going to look at this here now, going in with Philadelphia. I think they're going to come in. I think it's going to be a tough matchup. I think it's going to be a grinded out type of game. I think the defensive front seven for Tampa Bay is really going to have to play hard, really going to have to exploit this offensive line, get after Jalen Hurts and contain him. You don't want him getting loose because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers secondary is susceptible. But if they're going to win this game, they're going to have to win in the trenches, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and really hope that this Eagles offense, the second half was more of a fluke than them actually getting back into form to last season's offensive prowess. And so,
Yeah.
and for the Eagles, I would say, I mean, it's obvious like if you dominate the trenches, you're probably going to win the game, but they have a decimated offensive line. Dominate I have your defensive line dominate, get Baker Mayfield running, shut down this running game, and assuming Mike Evans is not going to be able to go, if you go look at the rest of their team, it's like Emeka Egbuka is going to be a guy you're going to have to worry about. You're going to have to worry about the running backs coming out of the backfield, but not too many other guys are scary.
Yeah.
If we're being completely honest, and so
Yeah.
like I know Sterling Shepard, he had 4 catches for 80 yards, still a guy to worry about, but not like nothing I think is really going to burn you. I just think the injuries are really going to take away from kind of how exciting this game could be this early on in September, and I think the Eagles are just going to have more power than what the Buccaneers are going to be able to
Yeah.
provide with all the injuries.
Yeah, and that's my thing here looking at this injury report, and this is just a long list of big names for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and these aren't just the role players that are you're swapping in and out with experienced veteran backups or or what? These are your top playmakers and whatnot right now, and your top two tackles are both out. So this is going to be a tough one for the Bucs. I think Philadelphia, even with the loss of Lane Johnson, I think is just going to be physically dominant on both sides of the ball. I know this defensive line with Vita Vea and crew is still pretty solid, but I just don't think they're going to be able to do enough long enough to keep this game close. So I'm gonna go Philadelphia. I'm gonna say 26-17, I think is the final score. Make it a 9-point game. So
Yeah, I feel it'll be lower scoring. I think this Eagles offense definitely they know when they're running the ball. Like they can be very efficient. It can take a lot of time off the clock, which really speeds up the game. And Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a lot of their offensive success has come in the fourth quarter so far this season.
yeah,
So I say that though their first two possessions against Houston were touchdowns, but then they didn't do anything else until their last possession of the game. So
yeah.
we'll have to wait and see. I think that could be a similar score. I think it could be something like maybe 20-10 Philadelphia. And so, but we'll have to see.
Yep. All right. Well, let's go ahead. Let's wrap it up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. That is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, leave a comment on who you think is going to come out ahead in this matchup. Will it be the Philadelphia Eagles? Will it be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Other than that, we'll see you guys next time.